They dismissed the video as fake, swearing Cameron would never stoop that low. But then came the unedited audio, raw, undeniable, and it shattered every facade Chrissy had spent years carefully maintaining. So, what did she say? Nothing, earth-shaking, just a quiet admission. She'd been manipulating Jim Jones like a chess piece while sneaking around with Cam all along. And the worst part, Cam recorded it on purpose. Which raises the real question, was this orchestrated from day one? Was Cameron playing a role the entire time? Love and hip-hop? Or a courtroom plot twist? This was betrayal at the highest level, complete with studio receipts, burner phones, and a voice memo powerful enough to wipe out an entire legacy. Jim Jones didn't yell, didn't break down. He just sat there, silent, as if watching his relationship, his reputation, and everything he built go up in flames, powerless to stop it. The long game. Chrissy Lampkin, Cameron, and Jim Jones are now entangled in a scandal so explosive it's shaken Dipset to its foundation and sent shockwaves across the internet. So, was Chrissy ever truly loyal? Or just a designer-clad ticking bomb, waiting for the perfect moment to blow up online? Buckle up. What you're about to hear might be the undoing of everything they built. And you know what cuts deeper than a breakup? A betrayal broadcast for the world to witness, which is exactly what went down between Chrissy Lampkin and Jim Jones. If it was all a lie. It started like most internet messes do. Quiet rumors, a sketchy DM leak. And then boom, an audio file surfaces. But this isn't just any clip. It's personal. It's timestamped, it's raw, and in it, Chrissy is allegedly heard telling Cameron, not Jim, that she never truly let go. What stings most? She sips wine, laughs, and casually calls Jim a brand, not a man. The leak didn't just cause a stir. It wiped out 3 group chats and turned Twitter into a digital wake. But let's rewind. Sources close to Cam's camp say this leak wasn't some accident. It was a cold, calculated move by Cameron himself. No slip-up, no revenge drop from a bitter friend. Just Cam, done playing nice. Because truth is, the friction between Cameron and Jim Jones hasn't just started. It's been bubbling just beneath the surface for years. For over a decade, Dipset's brotherhood was something the culture admired, but behind closed doors, cracks were forming. Business tensions, creative clashes, and yes, relationship drama quietly drove a wedge between them. Both sides kept it cool in public until now. Let's talk about that audio. According to insiders who've heard more than just the 40-second viral snippet, the full recording was captured in a private studio apartment where Cam and Chrissy allegedly met just 2 months ago. Her voice, crystal clear. No edits, no static, just raw confession. She says, "Jim still thinks I'm in love with the idea of us," then laughs. Cam stays silent. You hear a lighter flick. Then a beat drops faintly in the background because this isn't just scandal, it's a soundtrack to sabotage. Let's be real, Chrissy's no stranger to mess, but when she adds, "He doesn't know I've been gone for a long time. I'm with him in interviews, but with you, when it's real, the game changes." And if you remember that grainy clip of her entering a luxury suite at 2:14 a.m. well, now it all fits. It's the same clip from the Moran Hotel that leaked last. You're the one Chrissy brushed off by claiming the man was her cousin. Cam stayed silent back then, didn't even deny it. But now, with this audio, it's clear. Cam was there, and Reggie was never real. The whole thing was a layered lie. And if that's true, then who was Reggie, the guy conveniently wearing a sweatshirt almost identical to Cam's? But it doesn't stop there. In another moment from the recording, Cam asks, "You ever feel guilty?" Chrissy doesn't even pause. Not anymore. "I gave him everything. It's been 10 years now, I'm doing me," she says. Apparently, doing me meant secretly seeing the one man Jim trusted most. Former VH1 staffers revealed that Chrissy had long voiced frustrations about being boxed in by Jim's image. One ex-producer shared that Chrissy was eager to rebrand herself not as the loyal fiancé in the background, but as the headliner. And who gave her that spotlight? Cameron. According to sources, Cam had been, well, let's just say, according to an insider, he didn't exactly hold back. Cam didn't just pull her in. He handled her like a CEO flipping a rival brand from the inside out. Which brings us to Jim Jones, who found out everything in real time on livestream. There was no heads up, no warning. He was mid-interview, talking about his upcoming album, when his assistant slipped him a phone and whispered something in his ear. Jim froze, looked down, play the audio again, and then he just shut down. No outburst, No storming off Jim, simply stared at the screen and muttered, "That's her." In that moment, Dipset fans knew this wasn't just another celebrity scandal, it was the unraveling of loyalty, legacy, and love playing out live. But it didn't end there. Moments later, Mama Jones, Jim's mother, appeared on Facebook. Live, face swollen, voice trembling. She typed, "I told him she wasn't right. But he wanted his fairy tale." As expected, the internet did what it does best. Reddit threads lit up, comparing the leaked audio to Chrissy's past interviews. One user resurfaced a 2018 Breakfast Club clip where Chrissy insisted, "Cam is like family, there's nothing like that between us." But the receipts paint a different story. What's more shocking is the growing belief that this wasn't just betrayal, it might have been a calculated brand switch and a total brand collapse. Some believe Chrissy and Cam were plotting their own spin-off. In fact, Cam's lawyer recently filed a motion to protect intellectual property tied to it. From July to October, Cam had been collecting recorded material, and now he's treating the leak less like evidence and more like content. Think pitching a show to streaming platforms about the raw, unscripted, and scandalous flip side of love and hip-hop sounds far-fetched. Think again. In one backstage VH1 shoot, Chrissy is even heard asking Mona Scott, "Can we cut that line about Jim?" adding, "It's not true anymore." Like she's just playing a part. The second recording is a voicemail from Chrissy to Cam, where she allegedly says, "I miss the old days when it was just us. Jim's too busy." Let's pause there because, as the world began reacting to the leak, Cameron finally broke his silence with a single sentence posted to Instagram. No caption. "Chasing clout, you still see me." That last line exploded into a meme, quickly becoming the hashtag #WorkRe of the week. Now it's printed on shirts, lip-synced across TikTok, and tossed into shady tweets from random reality stars. One version of the post just shows a black screen, with a digital mic drop for million likes in just 9 hours. No hashtags, no follow-ups. But what happened next blindsided even Cam. An anonymous burner account, allegedly linked to a former VH1 intern, leaked a Dropbox folder packed with screenshots, travel receipts, and even a photo of Chrissy and Cam boarding a private flight the same week Jim was hospitalized for exhaustion. Turks in chaos, the fuse reignited instantly. Because if you thought the audio leak was the peak or that the Instagram post was the fallout, if you thought the live stream was the fallout, you were wrong. What followed wasn't just scandal, it was the death of a brand, a bond, and every lie they thought would stay buried. The courtroom was packed when Jim Jones walked in dressed in all black. No chains, no smile, no entourage. His mother and lawyer followed close behind, Mama Jones in a church coat, clutching tissues like weapons. Chrissy arrived 15 minutes later, hair slicked back, jaw tight, dressed like she was attending a funeral one she might have caused. But the pressure hit a new peak when Cameron walked in, wearing a coat and sunglasses. His lawyer 2 steps behind, carrying a folder labeled Exhibit C. The judge didn't waste a second addressing the damage caused by the now viral recordings. Jim's lawyer stood first, requesting a gag order for all parties, citing emotional harassment, brand exploitation, and calculated defamation. Then, he handed the judge a printed contractor reel. Signed agreement between Jim and Chrissy. For the contract was for the development of a co-branded docuseries titled Love Always Wins. It outlined clauses on emotional integrity, brand protection, and exclusive representation, the kind of paperwork that means breaking a heart also breaks a legal agreement. The judge read it slowly, page by page, then looked directly at Chrissy. "Were you romantically involved with Mr. Giles, Mr. Cameron, during the planning of this series?" Chrissy didn't blink, didn't sigh. She gave a single nod. Yes, that one word detonated in the courtroom. Mama Jones let out a gasp that sounded like a soul leaving the room. The judge continued, "Were you aware that this relationship, if revealed, could damage the credibility of your content?" Jim didn't look up, just clenched his hand on the table, knuckles white, lips trembling. Chrissy nodded again. Yes. The judge stayed silent, but the room didn't. Someone in the gallery whispered, "Ugh, she cooked herself. She doesn't even care." And maybe she didn't, because what came next confirmed everything the internet had been screaming for weeks. Cam's lawyer calmly approached the bench. No warnings, no build-up, just one line. "We'd like to submit one last recording." The judge gave the green light, and the bailiff wheeled out a monitor. Everyone turned toward the screen. It flickered with slow static. Then a voice cut through. "I'm tired of pretending that I love him, but not the way he needs. Jim wants forever. Chrissy sat across from Yandy Smith, the setting clearly a production trailer. I just wanted a moment and Cam gave me that. Yandy shifted uncomfortably, her fingers fidgeting. You know this isn't going to. Chrissy took a sip from a red Solo cup and laughed. If it leaks, it leaks. I've been hiding for 10 years. The courtroom screen went black, and for a moment, no one moved, not even the judge. Then he finally asked, Miss Lamine, is this footage real? Chrissy, yes. Do you realize it undermines your claims of good faith in your joint business ventures? Chrissy, I do. The gavel never fell, but the damage did. Jim's team filed a countersuit the moment that footage went public, citing emotional fraud, intentional deception, and brand manipulation. It was no longer just personal, it was financial and federal. But just as the weight of it all became too much to bear, a court clerk stepped forward and whispered something into the judge's ear. He nodded, then spoke the words that flipped the scandal into a possible criminal investigation. Homeland Security has provided this court with documentation indicating that Kis Lampin is now a person of interest in an ongoing case involving nonprofit misappropriation and digital tampering related to footage mentioned in earlier hearings. In the back of the room, Mona Scott's assistant, who had been sitting silently, suddenly rose to his feet right away. Your Honor, Chrissy's lawyer jumped up. We object, this is outside the scope of this case. The judge dismissed it with a nod. It will be addressed. The objection was overruled, but the tension wasn't. Chrissy's attorney looked rattled, her eyes dropped to the table, hands trembling, voice unsteady. Cam stayed quiet, watching everything unfold, like a man at a movie premiere. Then Jim stood, not angry, not loud, just calm and deliberate. He walked to the center of the courtroom, turned to face Chrissy. The judge allowed it. Jim asked, was any of it for me or was I just the cover story? Chrissy didn't answer. She couldn't. The judge called for a brief recess. But before Jim even reached the courtroom doors, the media had already ignited. TMZ, The Shade Room, and every chaotic YouTuber were slicing the footage into viral clips. The hashtag caught fire. And the silence that followed, it was louder than the leak, louder than the audio, louder than Cam's smirks and Mona's denials. Within minutes, it was trending. Chrissy admits Cam was the one who threw Jim out of the plan. Jim deserved better. VH1 dropped the Homeland Cam files, and during the court recess, Cameron's team posted a teaser trailer on Twitter. In just 30 seconds, Chrissy appears in a hotel room wearing a Dipset hoodie, phone pressed to her ear. Jim's on tour. I have 2 hours. Are you coming? The judge looked drained as court resumed. He asked both legal teams for closing remarks, then adjourned until final motions could be reviewed the following week. But truthfully, the verdict had already landed publicly, loudly. The voice on the other end of the call cut in the screen, cut to black text, then faded into the footage they tried to bury, coming back in court soon. By the time Jim exited the courthouse, his team had scrubbed every photo of Chrissy from his social media. Mama Jones didn't speak to reporters, but was spotted quietly sobbing in the hallway. Chrissy slipped out a back exit, no statement, just a black hoodie, oversized sunglasses, and the quiet weight of knowing every confession she swore would stay hidden had now gone public. Cam didn't leave right away. After her truth became a televised cautionary instead of slipping out, Cam stayed in the courtroom lobby, sipping coffee and chatting with his lawyer. When a journalist asked, why now? Cam just laughed and said, I waited for the right ending. And just like that, like credits rolling, he walked out. Hours later, a final leak hit the internet. Chrissy had messaged a contact saved as MSY Mona Scott Young, saying, delete everything. He knows, it's over. But nothing was deleted. Everything had been archived, and now, it belonged to the world. The brand shattered. The truth survived, and 30 minutes later, everyone returned, but the energy had shifted. Number 1. Not even Chrissy's own lawyer, the judge, or the court reporters, looked her way. She sat alone, like the air around her had thinned, like guilt had finally arrived and taken a seat beside her. Jim Jones sat across the room, arms folded, his face unreadable. No rage, no heartbreak. Just a man who no longer needed words because the truth had already screamed for him. Then the clerk stepped forward, holding a flash drive sealed in an evidence bag, marked HSI, Homeland Security Investigations. The judge handled the evidence bag like it was burning through his gloves. He plugged the flash drive into the courtroom system, turned to the room, and said, This contains sealed surveillance audio and metadata files referencing Ms. It felt like the devil took a lunch break and handed the case to his assistant. No one moved. Chrissy's lawyer immediately stood, "Your Honor, this is unrelated to the current matter," but the judge shut it down. "We're not debating innocence, we're debating admissibility. And it's admissible. The Lampkin Ms. and the handling of charitable contributions tied to a VH1-affiliated nonprofit registered in 2021. I'm Mona," one voice said, "to reroute that money so Jim wouldn't know we used his name to promote the gala. The rest went to handling post-production." Another voice, female, nervous, "Chrissy, that's fraud." Chrissy answered flatly, "No, that's television." The first file played Chrissy's voice on a phone call. Background sounds matched a trailer, likely backstage at a VH1 event. The courtroom didn't move. This wasn't just a betrayal of the heart it edged into federal wire fraud. Jim's lawyer rose again. "We request immediate approval to submit these findings into our motion for emotional sabotage and brand defamation." The judge nodded. Jim's name, likeness, and reputation had been used in charity materials to divert funds back into unapproved production costs. Motion granted. That's when VH1's legal rep stood pale, visibly sweating, whispered something to an assistant, then turned to the judge and requested to speak in chambers. Denied. This was public now. Viral. Too big for quiet conversations. Behind oak doors. The VH1 lawyer cleared his throat. "We were unaware of the financial routing. We had no knowledge of the secondary production logs," or the judge cut in with a sharp inquiry. "And Ms. Skochung?" The representative hesitated. "Of course, she did." Mona Skochung had vanished from the public eye. No emails, no statements, not even a cryptic Instagram quote. She saw the tidal wave coming and was already halfway to the bunker, but by the time she returned to court, the tsunami had hit. Chrissy finally spoke. "No defense, no spin. I kept telling myself I could balance the image and show the true feelings. I thought I could love him in public and heal in private, but I lost both versions of myself." Gone. Jim didn't look at her. Not once. Chrissy stood alone, not to deny but to confess. "I messed up." Quietly, not to the judge, not to Jim, not to anyone specific. Maybe out of guilt. Maybe because this was the last page of a script no one wanted to write. The judge, perhaps curious, allowed her to continue. Chrissy finished. "I don't expect forgiveness from Jim, the fans, anyone. I just want the truth on record. I'm tired of hiding behind the scenes." She sat down. Nearly a minute passed in silence before the judge finally spoke. "In light of the strength of the evidence, competing corporate interests, and the potential for ongoing harm to public entities' reputations, the court will grant all motions for damages pending a final hearing. In addition, the nonprofit matter is being referred to federal authorities for further investigation." It wasn't officially over, but emotionally. Cameron had already exited. He didn't wait for the court's final word. Instead, he posted one last thing to his story. "She said one sentence louder than I could ever imagine," beneath a clip from Dipset, and I mean it played on Chrissy, left through the back again. This time there was no security, no entourage, and no minaj. Jim left last, and his team attempted to entice him to. If the internet was on fire again by sunset, when a leaked staff chat from VH1 appeared on Reddit. Someone inside production posted screenshots of Mona's final internal message before the scandal hit the courtroom, which read, "If that footage leaks were finished." He shook them off and walked through the main door into the crowd. Cameras flashing, reporters screaming, but he didn't say a word. He got into his SUV, closed the door, and drove off. A video that was posted anonymously revealed a deleted scene from the Netflix trailer that Jim and Chrissy were working on. "Jim doesn't know half of what was scripted, let legal handle the rest." The comments went crazy. "She used his trauma as a storyboard, and Chrissy didn't lie on TV, she practiced it." VH1 is soon to be the next Fyre Festival. Season. "Why not both?" she asks with a giggle. However, now that there is no season, no life, and no future. Netflix has withdrawn. Its sponsors backed off production and halted the series within a day. Mona's name was removed from the website, VH1's press contact went black, and every intern who ever had a camera close to Chrissy Lemon began cleaning. Thereby morning, Chrissy was unfollowed on Dipset's official Instagram account. On LinkedIn, Jim's bio said "rebuilding and don't ask me anything." Chrissy merely uploaded a black square with no description or explanation, and hundreds of people flooded the comment area. Was it worth it in your opinion? They tried to bury a 3-part series that will be released next Friday, and the trailer doesn't even open with Chrissy. Instead, it opens with Jim sitting alone on a rooftop holding a glass saying, "I've built my whole life trying to protect people who just needed a stage." Cam broke the last loyal one. You sold your soul. The music, the memories, the marriage proposals, were any of them ever real? Or just carefully crafted illusions? Was it love? Or was it manipulation dressed in emotion? As the layers peeled back, it became clear that this wasn't just a scandal, it was a requiem for a dynasty. What the world thought was romance was, perhaps, only a storyline. The kind of storyline that begins with promise, builds with betrayal, and ends with silence so loud, it drowns out everything. Because not everyone survives fame. Not everyone survives love. And absolutely no one survives both when loyalty is on trial. They didn't just lose each other, they lost the legacy. The image is gone, the brand is broken, and the trust shattered beyond repair. And while the curtain may have fallen, the playback doesn't stop. It lives in screenshots, in audio files, in every whispered "I told you so" that followed. This was never just about love, it was always about loyalty. And the question that will haunt all three of them forever is simple: who killed it first? The love story we all believed in, and the loyalty Dipset claimed to embody, was it all just a carefully crafted illusion? A production spun from secrets and sold to us as forever. Jim Jones didn't just lose a partner, he lost his legacy. Now, it's your turn. Did Chrissy ever truly love Jim, or was she merely using him to elevate her brand? Cameron didn't just leak a tape. He ignited the entire system and walked away clutching the only thing that mattered: the truth. Chrissy stepped into the courtroom and shattered everything with just one quote. One moment that changed it all. Voicemail 1, silence filling the gaps. If you're still here, and still reeling, don't hesitate, drop your theories in the comments. Want this saga to keep unfolding? Smash that like button. Craving every leaked clip, courtroom twist, and secret betrayal before the world moves on? Hit subscribe and ring the bell. This story isn't finished yet. The next leak could rewrite everything you thought you knew. What's your take?